السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له من يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان لكم رقيبا يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة في الإسلام بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise is due to Allah and Allah alone. We praise Him and we extol Him. We send the finest of salutations ala Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Very the most truthful of speech is the book of Allah Ta'ala, Quran Majid, and the finest guidance that of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the most evil of affairs are the newly invented ones, bid'ah. And every innovation in Islam is going astray. And every going astray leads to the hellfire. Nasal al-Afiyah wa Thabat. Today, my dear Samman Iman, I'd like to speak about the value of having a clean heart. Bilai Tawfiq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala light our success. And this khutbah comes by way of a request of our good brother, Jazallah khair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. He requested that I continue speaking about the soul's journey after death. Last week we mentioned some points about the soul's journey after death in relation to the young brother who was just buried yesterday. Last week he was shot in the head, and yesterday we buried him. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we come, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our return. Allah reminds us, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatal maut. Every soul must taste death. So my dear Iman, the first and foremost issue that we need to come to grips with ourselves is that our success in this life and the next rests solely on the nadafa, the cleanliness of our hearts. As the old African statement goes, don't go around telling other people that they need to clean their house when your home is in shambles. It can also be in relation to our hearts. Many of us like to throw shade and to point fingers, but we forget that the other four fingers are pointing back at ourselves. So we need to understand and come to grips with and grapple with the fact and the reality that after Rahmah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our success in this life and the next relies solely on the cleanliness of our hearts. Since we all understand that after the Quran and Sunnah, our moral compass is our hearts. How well we really want to understand how to live our lives. Many of us, Ma'asaf Shadid, I'm very sorry to say that, have become blinded or deluded to the point of feeling and truly believing that we are blessed because of our successes, I'm making air quotes, in this life. We believe and we deem ourselves blessed, successful, fortunate, and have achieved. Why? Because of what we see we have in this life. So today I want to remind us, my dear Iman, that we need to regain control over our hearts. We need to regain that lost sense of virtue, also known as that good old-fashioned common sense of our hearts. In Arabic, it's called farasat, or intuition. Many of us, the overwhelming majority of us, have been blinded by our ambitions in this life and our goals that we have set. Rarely do we put in our goal setting getting closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So we need to polish and cleanse our good old-fashioned common sense and intuition. In Arabic, it is called what? Farasa. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had stated in many hadith referring to the Farasat al-Mu'min. He had stated that أتقى فراسة المؤمن فإنه ينظر بالنور الله ثم قرأ الآية إن في ذلك الآيات للمتوسمين. He ﷺ said that we should be wary of the keen intuition or insight of the believers, because they look at things with the nur of Allah, with the taqwa of Allah, with the piety of Allah. Then he recited the ayah. Verily that is a sign for those who see the marks in things. It's the wise person who would look before they lead, who would think is Allah, or would Allah be pleased with my endeavors in life? This is the wise person. They're not always in a haste for accumulating and amassing of things at the expense of their deen. There's also a hadith collected by Imam Ahmed and Adarami. Now, Wabasa bin Mub'ab reported that one day I went to the Masjid of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Wabasa bin Mub'ab, he was one of the people who would sleep on the veranda of the Masjid of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. One of those people who had no tribe, didn't have much belongings, maybe just his lungi, his undergarment, his izar, his mawis. That's all he had. He was one of those, you call it Ashab al-Suffah, the people who would sleep in the masjid and around the masjid. He came to the Prophet ﷺ. While he approached the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ was surrounded by his companions. And as he was approaching, the Prophet ﷺ looked at him and he says, "You came to ask me about albir, piety." Wabasa, he said, "Naam, yes." The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Astafti qalbak." Ask yourself. And then he ﷺ pointed to his chest 3 times. He said, "Ataqwa ha huna, ataqwa ha huna, ataqwa ha huna." Piety is right here inside each and every one of us. No matter how much a person wants to give us their legal opinion and tell us about how good this thing's going to be and how successful you are when you do this thing. Ataqwa ha huna, ataqwa ha huna, ataqwa ha huna. Also, Abu Hurairah reported that the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had stated, "Inna Allah la yanduru ila suwarikum wa mu'alikum, walakin yanduru ila qulubikum wa a'malikum." Or kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The very Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mighty and majestic, he does not look at our appearances, and he does not look at how much wealth we have accumulated, but he looks at our hearts and our actions. With this in mind, my dear man, we need to always keep in mind these things, that we're not going to always have to find a fatwa or go fatwa shopping, as we say. If we're not happy with what we were told, we want to seek another fatwa, get another opinion, till we are satisfied to get what we are looking for. We're not searching for the truth, we're searching for something that will coincide with what I want, with my type of existence. We forget, my dear man, that this farasat, this intuition, this good old-fashioned sense of being, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Raqib, watch over us, and is al-Hasib, he will be the one who will judge us. All of these feelings, these emotions, are covered with flesh and bones in our hearts. As the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had stated very clearly, in uncertain terms, that in each and every one of us, there's a mudghah, a piece of meat. إذا صلحت صلح جسم كله. إذا فسدت فسد جسم كله. ألا وهي القلب. Each and every one of us has a piece of meat, a lump of flesh inside of us. If it is good, our whole body is good and sound. If it is corrupt, then our whole body is corrupt. That is the heart. So that is the seat of our intelligence and our integrity. We don't need to question and overly question a person once we come of a certain age as to what was the motive, what were you thinking. The person has simply become corrupt. Nasal al-afiyah wa thabat. So my dear man, we have to understand that our bodies are just a vessel. This body that we love so much to look at and marvel at and feed and give proper rest to, it's just a vessel that carries our hearts. And what is inside of our hearts? The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stated, "Innama al-amalu binniyatin, innama likulli amrin ma nawa." Ila akhir hadith. And what is inside of us, inside of that flesh, that piece of meat, is not only our intentions, not only our good thoughts and feelings, but what is behind that. We see the person's actions, but we can't see their hearts. So my dear man, death, as we witnessed when we buried a young brother yesterday at just 21, 22 years old, supposed to start university again this year. His life, as we say, cut short. Some of us, we view death as the beginning, people of Iman. So we prepare for it. Others, we say that's it, khalas. That's the end. As we say, kulu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. But in actuality, death is that which comes in between the two. Death is just the middle part, meaning the partition or the barzakh, where we all have to rest. We all have to wait. This is a waiting period. This is a place where all of the arwah, the souls, can go and meet and greet each other. Allah has spoken about the different various types of existence in the barzakh, different types of arwah or nufus. The souls are of different and various types, and Allah has spoken about them in many places in the book. But we have to understand that before the resurrection, we will be wandering. Those people like us, we're alive now, and those who have passed away, we will be able to meet and greet each other where? In the barzakh, in that partition between this present life and the everlasting life. Allah reminds us in the end of Surah Al-Ma'arij, يوم يخرجون من أجداد زراعا كأنهم إلى نصب يؤفكون خاشعة أبصارهم ترهقهم ذلة ذلك اليوم الذي كانوا يوعدون. Sadaqallah, the day when they will be made to come out quickly from their graves as racing to a nusub. Their eyes will be cast down with disgrace that shall cover them in disgrace. That was the day we have all been warned about. So my neighbor man, every soul will rise up quickly from their graves, and they'll be racing towards a huge object. And Ibn Abbas said, it is as if they're rushing towards a flag. They'll be rushing towards something that they recognize. They'll get up and they'll be rushing towards a goal. Hassan al-Basri said that this rushing is a representation of how we used to rush in this life. My dear man, what are we rushing towards in this life? We need to look at ourselves now before it's too late. What are we rushing towards? What do we see as important more than anything else? What gets us up in the morning? The heart that is mutma'inna bil iman, that is safe and secure and satisfied with the actions of iman. They know what they're rushing towards. But that heart that is corrupt, with a strong love of this dunya, as we do, we brag about ourselves, our achievements, our accomplishments in this life. We brag about our family members, our children. But, my dear man, when are we going to brag to ourselves, to our achievements in the deen? We are bragging about these 5 minutes of fame that we have accomplished on this planet. But it's hard for us to do acts of charity, sadaqat, and acts of goodwill. But we wake up and we rush and we hustle for money, flus, dunya. And we have a hard time to pray salat subh, to pray any of the salawat. My dear man, if we are not careful, our obsession with this worldly life can become an object of worship. We have to understand that. Once we are put into our graves, that is the proof that as they say, that is the time in which we will see the thamarat, the fruit of our actions upon this earth. It all starts once we are put into our graves. If we're a person of Iman and the aql, our minds that are connected to our heart are salim, we'll prepare for that time when we're put into our graves, when we're set up by those two terrifying angels. These are aspects of the ghaibiyya, unseen, which the Prophet ﷺ, as-sadiq al-masduq, the most truthful of those who speak the truth, he mentioned those angels by name, Munkir and Nakir. They will sit everyone up and will be asked 3 questions. Man Rabbuk, Man Dina, Man Nabiyak. Who is your Lord? Who did you worship? What was your deen? What was your way of life? What was your lifestyle? How were you living your life? And who is the prophet that you followed? So my dear man, if we were a person of deen, not a deen that we made up to ourselves, the deen of Islam, not Islam. If we are practicing the deen of Islam to the best of our ability, as Allah says, have the consciousness of Allah to the best of our ability. We need to hear and obey. We should not be looking for ways around the truth or how to adjust the truth to our own personal whims and desires. So if we're a person of deen, then we'll be able to answer those questions. They'll just roll off of our tongues. But if we're a person of fallacies, and a person who just used to come out of convenience sake, when we're reminded to pray, we do it with reluctance. We're reminded to give, we do it with reluctance. We're going to have a difficult time in the grave, starting in the grave. And also from the amur ghaibiyya, also from the unseen aspects of our aqidah, of what will take place, what our souls will go through. Remember, our bodies are just a vessel carrying our souls. That when we are risen up from our graves, we will all be made to pass over the Sirat, over Jahannam. We'll all be made to cross over that thin bridge over the hellfire. There's an ayat, Ibn Jarir reported from Abdullah that he said concerning Allah's ayat, "In minkum ila wariduha." Each and every one of us will have to cross over it. And this bridge over Jahannam is thinner than a hair and sharper than the sharpest edge of a sword. The first group that will cross over it will cross like a bolt of lightning. The second group will cross over like the wind. The third group will pass like the fastest horse. The fourth group will pass like a cow. And the rest will be crawling over the bridge. And the angels will be saying, "Oh Allah, give them safety. Oh Allah, give them safety." The Rasul will be at the other end of the bridge and say, "Rabbi, sallam, sallam." Oh my Lord, give them safety. Oh my Lord, give them safety. So my dear man, our ability and the lack thereof to cross over the bridge. Remember the Rasul has given us these inscriptions. And huwa sadiq al-masduq. He is the most truthful of those who speak the truth. Our ability and the lack thereof is all revolving around what we do in this life. What we do with our bodies in this life. Are we just well rested when we're told to pray, to get up and pray? Are we banked up when we're told to share from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in the first place? Do we give, or do we give with reluctancy, or do we give not wanting to give, meaning reluctancy, or do we give because other people? There's so many things revolving around our giving. So my dear man, our ability and the lack thereof to cross over this bridge, because this bridge has hooks, and it will scratch people. and people will be dragged and thrown on their faces into Jahannam. Why? Because they did things for show on this earth. They did things for name's sake, for fame. We have to understand what that's on man. The way we'll be able to practice is with faith and practice. How do we practice? For show, for name? La. With faith, iman, and practice. That's how we'll be able to answer the questions in the grave. That's how when we'll get out from the grave, we'll be able to cross over the bridge. Also from our sound Islamic aqidah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a kursi, a footstool. He has an arsh. And other than that, from the ghaibiyah, the unseen aspects. But what I want us to understand is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something which we'll all want to rush towards, which is his shin. Allah reminds us in Surah Al-Qalam, يوم يكشف عن ساق ويدعون إلى السجود فلا يستطيعون. إلى آخر آية. Al-Bukhari reported that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said that he heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting this ayah, and he said, our Lord Tabarak wa Ta'ala, the mighty and majestic, he will reveal his shin. And every single believing man and woman, male and female, will recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shin and make prostration to it. With ease, will fall in prostration the moment they recognize the shin. But those people who used to only pray for show in this life, their backbone will be made stiff like a rod, and they will not be able to prostrate to it. Nasal al-afiyah of the back. Bismillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sallam. So my dear man, I want to leave us off with a little bit of a description of what we will experience in the Jannah. We know that having a clean heart, a pure heart, meaning first and foremost, is a heart that has no shirk, no associating of partners in it. Whatever we do, whatever we say, we try and be as sincere as we are. I know a lot of us are involved in business and making money and doing so many other things. But let us do our utmost to remove the monkey business and the kedr and the life and deceit and be happy with the barakat, the blessing that Allah has for us. We want to go for Jannah. This is our goal. Our goal isn't just this life in one or two houses. Our goal is the house in Jannah. And I want to leave us off with, as an encouragement, that in Jannah, it's well known from the Quran and Sunnah, that in the Sunnah Sahih, that after our bodies will become bones and dust, our souls will live forever in a different type of body. And we will go through a type of a metamorphosis, and our souls will be different, a different shape. And alhamdulillah, we'll live together in Jannah. And we'll be happy together in Al-Jannah. And the only thing is that the people of paradise will all be the same height. No one will be tall, no one will be short, no one will be fat or skinny. We'll all be the same height as our father was, Adam alayhi salam, over 60 cubits. And we'll all be the same age, which is 33 years old, 33 years of age. And we will increase in our beauty. Alhamdulillah. Every week we'll increase in our beauty in Al-Jannah. There's a hadith, I want to leave this hadith, that in Sahih Muslim, Anas bin Malik reported that Allah said in Jannah that there is a street in which we will go to and we'll pass every Jum'ah. And the north wind will blow and scatter fragrance on our faces and on our clothing, called al-sundus, that would add to the beauty of the Ahl al-Jannah and their attractiveness. And they would go back to their families after having added to their luster and beauty and exquisiteness, their family would say, Wallahi, you have been increased in beauty and good looks after leaving us. And they will say to their family, Wallahi, you have also increased in beauty and good looks after leaving us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand that Jannah is the Dar al-Abrar. Jannah is the land in the place that we want to live and live forever in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand that this place is only a transitional place to the Barzakh, which is leading to Al-Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and give us the goodness in our hearts and find it that we will prioritize our lives around our hopes and our goals and our aspirations to reach Al-Jannah. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in the Gaza Strip. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in Afghanistan. Help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in Sudan, in Kashmir. كل مكان يا رب العالمين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا الذين آمنوا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة